The BBC reports officer's death prompts police misconduct review. And here is, Claire Brown, who has passed away. It says the death of the police officer who was under investigation for gross misconduct has sparked a review of how a force deals with the cases. PC Claire Brown, who worked for the Hampshire and Isle of Wight, I can't say this word, constabulary since 2006, died at a property in Netley on the 7th of July. Her death was not thought to be suspicious, the force has said. The 44-year-old was out on bail after being arrested over allegations that she sent sensitive police information from her work email account to her personal account. Donna Jones, Hampshire of Isle and Wight's Police and Crime Commissioner, said the independent review would take place after questions and concerns among officers, staff, and the wider public. Ms. Brown was being investigated by the force over an allegation that she had used her police email account for non-work purposes. So now I'm saying to myself, well, which one was it, right? Was she using her police email account for non-work purposes? Like, did somebody email her and ask her out on a date? Was she getting like coupons emailed to her work email? Or was it, like it says just 2 sentences before that she sent sensitive police information from her work email to her personal account? Because that's totally different. You're either sending police information to your personal account or you're using your police account for non-work purposes. I find that weird that they listed 2 different things there, okay? And either way, it says she was out on bail after being arrested. Then it just kind of sparks more curiosity, right? Because it says that she's been on the force for almost 20 years. Why would she risk her entire career to send sensitive information to her personal account? It gets me like my tinfoil hat starts popping on, right? Then I'm reading a little further. It says the force has referred itself to the police watchdog, the Independent Office for Police Conduct. It comes after Hampshire police officer PC Alex Hazlitt Beard, who was also under investigation by the force, died in February. Now, that got me thinking, I really want to see what this guy, how this guy died and what he was under investigation for. And so I tried to find some information and I really couldn't find much at all. But I do look around and see that Claire was well-loved and respected officer and colleague who worked in many different departments and teams throughout her policing career. She will be missed by us all. She was a dedicated officer who served the force and the community diligently and compassionately for 19 years. So I ask you, what in the world kind of information would she have that she would send to her personal email and risk a 19-year career? There's a lot of things we could be thinking about this, right? She seems like everybody's talking about what a wonderful, dedicated officer she was for 19 years. And then suddenly, out of the blue, she's arrested and then she dies when she's out on bail. And I can't pull the other article up here because it's on my tablet, but this one is from the Telegraph. And then when you read a little further about her death and things, it says a spokesman for the force added that PC Brown's death was not being treated as suspicious and a file is being prepared for the coroner. Remember that one. All right. Remember that exact quote. So I go to look up what the hell's going on with Alex Hazlitt Beard, who was also under investigation by the force. And the only thing that I can really find is this article from Daily Echo back in February. Tributes pour in after Southampton police officer suddenly dies. Suddenly dies. It doesn't say that he self-exited. It doesn't say anything about how he dies. But here we got tributes, all right? On Tuesday, February 11th, Response Officer PC Alex Hazlitt Beard died in New Forest after serving 7 years in the force. Hampshire Constabulary has referred itself to the Independent Office for Police Conduct over the death. What happened? What are they investigating that it's taken all this time and we still have heard nothing? Because now they have another death. And okay, they're going to refer themselves to the Independent Office for Police Conduct over that death as well. So where's the investigation from this Alex Beard's death? It says tributes have begun flooding in after the passing of this policeman. All of these things that are said about this guy are absolutely really nice things, right? It says, I saw Alex on duty many times. He always had time to come over and say, hello, boss. And this is truly shocking. It says the police force has lost a great guy. I can only say when he was one of our doormen, he was a top lad, and more importantly, genuinely someone who cared. Then it goes on, they're mourning his loss. And then we find that another quote, the death is not being treated as suspicious, and police are preparing a file for the coroner's office. All it says is it's understood that the Hampshire police were carrying out a misconduct investigation at the time of PC Hazlitt-Beard's death. So do you guys see the few things that are lining up here? The first thing is that, number one, they were both people who were, highly liked. They seemed like they were dedicated police officers. From everything everyone's saying, these two seemed like dedicated police officers. They were both suddenly put under investigation, right? One was for misconduct investigation, which they don't give any details for. The other was because someone was sending sensitive police information from their work email to their personal email. They both die suddenly. They're both people who'd been on the force for years, so they, were in good physical health, I imagine. It's not like they have people that are heart attack prone on the force, right? They both die. They're saying both of these deaths are not suspicious, and the police are preparing files for the coroner's office. This quote is the exact same quote as the one that I read for PC Claire Brown. We heard nothing about what the coroner's office found. So why are they preparing a report for the coroner's office? I just don't know. Isn't the coroner's office supposed to be preparing the report for the police department? So it poses quite a few questions, like what were they under investigation for? How did they pass away? Where is this independent office for police conduct? Because they were called back in February when the force referred itself there the first time. What was the report? What did they find out? And last but not least, why is the report being gathered for the coroner when the coroner should be making a report for the police department as to what actually happened to these two officers? It's very, very weird. Police officers don't just up and die. They're in very good shape. They're trained very well. I would like to know, did they self-exit? What happened? Like, if you guys know anything about any of this stuff, leave it down in the comments and let me know what you think about this. See you on the next one.